Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to go through my first crack at the SuperCoach AFL team picker for season 2024. And I should just preface this by for newer viewers to the channel that I'm not an AFL expert. I guess I'll get into SuperCoach more for the NRL side of things, but I do like to have a crack at all the different games and options available, and AFL is obviously one of them. So I haven't played for a few years, but I do rely heavily on other content creators on YouTube. So guys like DR, George, JD. If you've seen their stuff, you know what I'm talking about. If not, search them. They'll probably tell you more about these guys than I could, because my team is heavily based on sort of their starting teams. And the other thing too is, I guess, it's not the season proper. So generally, once the season is opened up, you get stats like team selected and stuff, which gives you a bit more idea of what everyone's thinking. So I usually use that as a bit of a guide, as well, and really just play the numbers, a bit like the NBL sort of approach if you've been following those videos. But as I said, we'll have a crack at it and put the team, I guess, an initial team together. So, in defence, we've gone a few big heavy hitters. We've got Nick Dacos, but obviously he's sitting in midfield at the moment, just because there seems to be a few nice cheap options as well. So James Sicily, Tommy Stewart, Harry Sheasel, I've had them in my team before. Sheasel was a debutant last year, crushed it. Tom Stewart and Sicily have been doing it for years. So pretty comfortable with those guys in the back line as sort of set and forget options in the defence. Then Hayden Young, so partly has a bit of a discount option that's expected to go to the next level next year, and partly sounds like Fremantle have the best sort of buy schedule. The AFL, in their infinite wisdom, are trying to counteract the NRL's Vegas weekend by having a opening round, which has sort of stuffed up the draw at the early part of the season for a few teams, and for SuperCoach players. But Fremantle and I think it might have been Port Adelaide have the best buy. I think it's round 13, is when they have their only buy, as it would be, for SuperCoach. And they're the only two teams, so it's going to be quite easy to cover them. So you can probably load up on those guys, but I haven't really done that in this video. Like I said, I've just copied what the other guys have done. A lot of, couple of little tweaks here and there. But yeah, so that's why I've got him in. And then Williams and Caulfield apparently, AFL experienced players that have just been unlucky with injuries, so their price is really nice. Gibkiss I've had before, but apparently he was injured all of last year, so it must have been 2 years ago. How time flies when you're having fun. And Pink, I think, is a rookie that they're expecting to get a bit of game time at North, but just a placeholder really for now. In the midfield, Dacos, probably was going to win the Brownlow before he got injured. So happy to lock him in. Obviously, we'll move him into the defence once the rookies and the underpriced guys do their thing. But if we just have a quick look at the midfielders, Bont is super expensive and apparently has had off-season surgery. Oliver's a bit of a mental health issues, I think. I don't know, there's definitely something going on with him in Melbourne. Don't know exactly, again, not the expert in AFL. And then Petrarca is, potentially the gun that you could go for, I think, but just want to see how he goes at the start of the season. Particularly if Oliver's missing, that could actually help. But again, I'm not the expert. Laird's getting a bit on in years, so I might give that a miss. Merritt's usually inconsistent, so you wait for him to dip and bring him in. And so for that reason, I've started to go a bit more of a discount option. So Butters, again, Port Adelaide, I think, are the team that have that nice buy schedule, so lock him in. LDU was pretty popular with the other content creators. So I've just put him in, to hopefully become a premium level player. Excuse me, I got the itchiest nose. And then Sam Walsh, just on ability, he probably hasn't had the best role at Carlton. So, if he can get a better role, he'll definitely be a top 8 option. And Teague Miller, he's probably my favourite AFL player. Um, I guess if I had to say I follow a team, I'll probably follow the Suns, but definitely not, a season ticket holder or anything like that. But I think he is their captain and probably best player. So I'm happy to get him in the team, and hopefully he can lift after that injury affected season last year. After that, you got the cheapies, so McKercher, Sanders, and Curtin seem to be in everyone's draft teams. So particularly McKercher and Sanders, there's a lot of hype around. So happy to start them. Curtin, I'm not overly convinced about, but the defensive DPP could be quite handy. And then Roberts, um, I've had him in my team last year when he had that sort of couple of good games. So if he could get a consistent spot there at Sydney, he'd be killing it. And then Sharp and Clark apparently have AFL experience, but just waiting for a chance. With the rucks, gone a bit cheap just to cater for other positions. With Grundy and Sherry. So I had Cherry last year, and then he got injured. So I think if he's back and fit this year as a ruck one there at North, he should do well. Grundy was sort of stuck on the bench, moved forward, even got dropped at Melbourne last year. He'll be the main man at Sydney, so trying to squeeze a bit of value out of the rucks this year. I guess Max Gorn's also a little bit of value if you like that sort of pick. But I think at the end of the season, I would love to have Timmy English for sure. Maybe Ryan Marshall. Actually, I should bring them up on screen while I talk about them. Yeah, so those guys. Um, yeah, there's a couple of other interesting ruck moves. Matt Flynn to West Coast, so that'll not just free up him, but also Kieran Briggs. And who's the other guy from GWS? Well, is he not there anymore? Mustn't be. I can't think of the name. It was someone else. Braden Pruce, is that it? Don't know what his story is. He might not be anywhere. And that's fine. And the other one was someone else. I think it was one of the really cheap. Oh, there he is, Braden Pruce. Didn't play last year. Okay, that's probably why. Must have been a couple of years ago. All the years are blending in together all of a sudden. Yeah, Jordan Sweet's a move from the Dogs to Port Adelaide. There's a few other Port rucks there, so just wait and see. But there's a bit of chat about Conway, so I've just loaded him on the bench. Don't usually like having the donut option if you can avoid it. A copper 123 player who's playing full forward or something. Just trying to make some cash gen because eventually one pops up out of the woodwork anyway. So, um, yes, do like to have that third ruck option. It doesn't look like you've really got a nice swing option like I saw Darcy Cameron last year was pretty popular, but he's now a full ruck. Blitzarves has the mid ruck combo, which is a bit awkward to use. Luke Jackson still plays with Sean Darcy, he's probably not. And yeah, so in the forwards, while I'd like to have Jack McRae in there, I think I'd probably have to trade out a midfielder um, or potentially a defender. So, there probably is room for McRae, but um, I don't know. I think you know. Generally, I find it's midfielders and rucks score the most, then defenders, and then forwards come last. So I don't usually worry about spending too much in the forward line. Um, but we've got Sam Flanders. Um, you know, sort of had a good run at the back end of last year at the Suns. I think he'll be in most people's teams, so I think that's an easy pick. Zach Fisher, they're talking about playing halfback at the Roos, which is a pretty nice spot. So he's a nice mid-price option. A couple of blasts from the past, I guess, a bit with Jack Hayes and Jai Cully. So, they had really good sort of runs when they first made their debuts, and then injuries just took over. So, if they can get fit and on the field, players around that sort of price are really handy to have in the forward line. But Reed, the number one draft pick, is locked in. Wilson seems to be in everyone's draft teams. Manor seems pretty popular as well. And then Maley, there was a bit of talk. A couple people used him as the ruck option, obviously at 102k. But for now, he'll just sit there and make it a bit easier to fit all these other players in. Obviously, we've still got 100k, so he could easily turn into another more expensive rookie. Or if we need to find a bit more money out, like to upgrade elsewhere, potentially could. It could go Grundy up to Gorn if need be. But again, this is just the first draft of the team. I can't fit them all in, so that's fine. The forwards are probably less important anyway. So yeah, so that's how the team looks. Obviously, once the game opens and we get a bit more data around who's picked what and stuff, we can look at it a little bit closer. Um, but I guess in saying that, it's also an opportunity where I can reach out to the community to help me out a bit. So if you do have any thoughts, comments, you know, clearly obvious picks that I've missed for whatever reason, feel free to throw them below in the comment section. Obviously, if you enjoy the AFL content, give the videos a like. As I said, it's not my strongest point, but if people want to see it, I'll get it out there. Subscribe for all the fantasy content that we've got on the channel. We'll just say the team again before we go. But other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.